and state police departments. We thank you for tonight's sponsor and host, and we pray that these drivers can give us a safe and an entertaining evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Here to honor America, please welcome Jason Lovins from Ashland, Kentucky, as he performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's time to go to battle in the last great Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway.
Bristol, it's one of those places that you just can't describe it until you've seen it and you've been there.
You walk into this big coliseum.
This whole mojo and magic.
It's absolutely a blast to be able to have that privilege to be one of the drivers out there doing battle and competing for a win.
Racing under the lights at Bristol is like no other.
It's night racing at Bristol.
Racing under the lights at Bristol is one of the coolest moments you can have. You know it's going to be flames coming out, sparks flying, hitting each other.
It is one of those moments where you feel like you're in an action movie.
You have virtually no time to breathe.
You're physically and mentally exhausted when you get done at Bristol.
If you can't get your heart rate, up to that, you can't get pumped up for a place like Bristol, you don't deserve to be in a race car.
It is a car chase scene that will last 300 laps here for the Xfinity Series. And for the things you need to know before the green flag flies, let's go trackside. We'll start with Parker Kligerman.
Guys, Blake Cook has 2 top 10s his last 2 races here at Bristol, and they've both come in this car 125. It is their concrete car. They also run at Dover, and his crew chief Chris Rice told me this team is better than ever, but no one's noticing because they're not on the bubble and there's not a lot of drama. They're hoping to keep the drama on the racetrack here tonight and get in victory lane. Kelly?
Elliott Sadler leads the Xfinity Series in just about every statistical category except for wins. He has yet to do that here in 2017, but the veteran does have a pair of Xfinity Series wins here at Bristol, and he told me it would be huge to nag his first one of the season again tonight. He starts 8th. Dave?
Kelly, Michael Annett may be the lesser known of the junior motorsports drivers, but it is he who fights for his playoff life tonight. He's just 34 points above the cut line and starts 23rd, Marty.
Dave, the 22 team won last week at Mid-Ohio with Sam Hornish behind the wheel. The guy behind the wheel this evening, Joey Logano, and he's racing for a bigger purpose this weekend. On the Cup Series side, he needs a win to be able to make the playoffs. He told me moments ago that a win tonight would do wonders for the confidence for next week, or tomorrow night rather, in the Cup Series, Rick.
Thank you, Marty. And the drivers all strapped in. Again, it will be 300 laps from right here in Bristol. 85-85 will be the first 2 stages. Let's get the engines fired. We go for the command.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, Sports Director and Anchor for WJHL Television News Channel 11, Kenny Hopkins.
Drivers, start your engine!
Go ahead, fired up. Command has been fired up. Fuel.
Kyle Busch is going for the sweep. Can he do it? He won the Truck Series race on Wednesday. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. What a beautiful sight. Bristol Motor Speedway under the lights as we get ready for the cars to roll off of pit road. Take a look at the starting grid up front. Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. Again, Kyle Busch looking for the sweep. Won the Truck Series race on Wednesday.
In row 2, we have Brendan Poole and Justin Allgaier. Brendan Poole is looking for his first Xfinity win.
Row 3, we have Cole Custer and Tyler Reddick, 2 young drivers still looking for their first win in the Xfinity Series.
Back in row 4, that will be Daniel Suarez and Elliott Sadler. Elliott Sadler is a 2-time Bristol winner.
In row 5, we have Brandon Jones and Brendan Gaughan. Brandon Jones needs to make up 65 points in the next 5 races to make the playoffs.
Well, we've heard all weekend about how Bristol can bring out the worst in you. We'll see if the Dillon brothers can get along, starting next to each other in row 6.
Back in row 7, it's Blake Cook and Jeremy Clements.
In row 8, we have Matt Tiff and Daniel Hemrick. Daniel Hemrick coming off his best finish in the Xfinity Series of 2nd last week.
2 Cup drivers make up row 9, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Eric Almirola. Dale Jr. won his last Xfinity start, which was back in Richmond last year.
And back in row 10, William Byron and Ross Chastain. Byron has been the winningest Xfinity Series driver this season. 3-time winner already in 2017. We want to chat a little bit with Elliott Sadler, driver of the One Main Financial #1.
Hey, Elliott, it's Burton up in the NBCSN booth. Got a minute to talk?
Yes, sir, guys. How are you?
Oh, we're doing great up here. The great question we want to ask, though, is with the PJ1 on the bottom, you're starting on the outside. How do you approach the start of this race?
Well, we just got to be aggressive and try to keep track position, stay up front here. We know the bottom lane is going to be fast, but I think like all Bristol races, the top groove will come in, and hopefully it'll give us some opportunity and some chances to make some passes and move around. This track was so much fun in the spring, and hopefully it'll have some of the same characteristics tonight.
Well, Elliott, you've always been so good at moving around the racetrack, finding the high line or the bottom line. How do you decide when you want to try to make the high line work?
Well, I'm going to move around and see how my car runs on both the bottom and the top. I have a really good spotter in Brett Griffin that always gives me a lot of information on who's running where and who's making up time to see if I need to move around and try to find some grip. So our One Main Financial Chevrolet was really good yesterday on the bottom. We'll see if we need to stay down there, if we have to move around. And, man, that's why we race. 300 laps here at Bristol is always fun. And this is one of my favorite races of the year. We're looking forward to getting going.
Thank you, Elliott. We hope you have a good, calm night tonight at Bristol.
Calm, that's right. You guys have a good one.
I'm going to laugh at that, too. Calm night at Bristol. Well, our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods will give us a great shot of the Coliseum here. And we've talked a little bit about the numbers as far as the 300 laps. Let's look at the race analysis, Steve.
Yeah, 300 laps, a little over 150 miles. The most important thing, probably the stage lengths. The first and second stage, both 85 laps. The final stage, 130 laps. Fuel window's pretty far here, around 150. But the important thing, pit road speed, 30 miles per hour is a crawling pace. We see a lot of speeding penalties here at Bristol.
And a difficult pit road to get on when you're clicking laps off at right around 15 and a half seconds to remember which side of pit road you're on.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to never have to pit under green. The way the stages break down, you'd only be under green if you had an issue. But here it is. We've talked about this place, the Bull Ring, the Thunder Valley, the last great Coliseum. They call it a lot of things, Rick, but what I have learned in my career is when the sun goes down and the lights come on, tempers flare and flare early and often. We'll see how this race gets underway.
Again, making up row 1 is Kyle Busch. He has chosen the inside line. Joey Logano will start on the outside of him. Poole and Allgaier making up row 2. PJ1, it is the substance that's been put down on the racetrack, trying to give him a little extra grip down low. Coming out of 4, fans on their feet. We're racing at Bristol. Allgaier in the 7, making the outside line work early. He goes for second. Justin Allgaier right away makes that middle line work, and Allgaier moves all the way up to second on that start.
As we ride along with Joey Logano, the Ford Performance onboard camera, this gives you the great view of this high bank track. Look as they enter the bank. You can see a few sparks off the right side of the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Very normal for the start of the race and low tire pressure.
Kyle Busch out front. Back into the 7, kicks around just a little bit. Cole Custer in the 00 moving up on the outside of the 20 of Daniel Suarez.
Well, this goes back to the patience, Jeff, that we talk about. When they get too wide in front of you, there's nowhere to go. You just have to be patient.
Yeah, Cole actually started 5th, has fallen back just a little bit. Elliott Sadler started 8th and made that top line work early. Put some guys on the bottom in a little bit of a bind. So here's Elliott Sadler battling for 5th position.
And Elliott Sadler sneaks right in front of the 42. Saw brothers Ty and Austin Dillon racing side by side for a while. That has to be interesting. How many times did you race your brother?
A lot. And it's very tough. I mean, it's hard to race your brother because you're not racing with him, you're racing against him.
Right.
And it's hard when you take something away from somebody you care about. That's a difficult thing to do, but that's just what you have to do.
Part of racing. Austin Dillon has the advantage now, just in front of Ty Dillon. Austin in the 2, Ty in the 3. Brendan Gaughan in the 62 running that high line. He's another one that we're used to seeing run very high early in races.
And the bottom of the racetrack, I think, Steve, is now that they've gotten going, is the preferred place. But it's not by light years. It's not a ton. Brendan Gaughan is able to hang in there pretty well at the top. And now you see the 3 car of Ty Dillon moving up to the top trying to make it work.
Yeah, and after what we saw in the final practice for the Cup guys, I'm a little surprised more guys aren't making time on the top. I guess it's just going to have to be a matter of time as the tires wear.
You had mentioned that the pit window is such that fuel isn't an issue. Not in any of the stages. They can go at least 150 laps on the Sunoco fuel as we ride along with the Sunoco onboard of William Byron. Marty.
Riding along with Mr. Byron, I asked him, how much do you lean on Elliott Sadler when you come to a short track like this where he has tons of experience? He said, honestly, in the spring, a lot. But when I came back this time, I really looked at my own notes. I watched some in-car cameras from the last Cup Series race here and kind of relied on myself. I wanted to do it on my own. Clearly, the kid has shown what he can do this year right now in 17th. You know, it's funny, guys. We see now everybody on the bottom of the racetrack, but Joey Logano told me he thought they would be on the top quickly. Caution on the track, Rick.
And the 99. A lot of damage to David Starr's car.
Get down, bring down pit road here.
That right front looks like there's some heavy contact. Right front wheel not moving at all. He was near the back of the pack when that happened.
Right front's not turning at all, guys.
Crew's going to assess the damage.
It's going to be hard to do anything. Looks like major damage. It's going to be hard to do much of that, Steve.
It's, you know, an unfortunate break for David Starr, but a good break for the cars around him on pit road. We see right here, David's entering the corner. It looks maybe up about the middle lane. Wow, car just goes straight. I'm not sure if he got way loose before that and was correcting or had a flat tire. As straight as it was, it looked like a flat tire to me.
Some sort of mechanical issue.
Kyle Busch out front in Bristol. Catch all the action of NASCAR on NBC with the NBC Sports app. You can get closer with alternate camera angles, driver stats, and track information anytime, anywhere. Brennan Poole, the DC Solar onboard camera, and this one's right on the visor for Brennan Poole. What a great view.
Oh, it is a great view, and we've seen the cars run mostly around the bottom of the racetrack, but as the groove moves up next to that black wall, that outside retaining wall, this visor cam will get even more exciting. There's not a lot of room up there, Jeff.
No, there's not. And how about Justin Allgaier on the outside here? Justin Allgaier at the start of the race made that outside lane work. So did Elliott Sadler. So can he take the lead away from Kyle Busch?
And we're about to find out. The field approaches the Geico restart zone. Kyle Busch, Justin Allgaier. Green flag back in the air. Allgaier once again making the outside line work. He's going to go for the lead. Allgaier clears the 18. He's out front at Bristol.
And that's a great feeling. Clearing the all-time win leader in the Xfinity Series on a restart.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the feeling, because here he is back inside you, Jeff.
It didn't take long.
Well, this is not over yet. Justin Allgaier putting up a great fight. Justin was fast in practice. Now he's cleared him, moved himself in front of the 18 car. Great job.
And this isn't surprising. You know, Allgaier leads all these active drivers for laps led on the short tracks. He knows how to get around these tracks, and as you mentioned at the top of the show, look good all through practice.
The other thing is, the spotters are going to be looking at this and saying, hey, the 7 just made it work. Now the 18 of Kyle Busch, he ventures up into that second line to see if he can make it work.
Joey Logano, look how high he is. That's a great opportunity for Joey. There's no one behind him. There's no one putting pressure on him. You can try something right now. If it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. Nobody's there to pass you. So it's a great time to do a little bit of experimenting.
And here is the point. When we talk about lanes, there's the bottom of the racetrack that you see Kyle Busch slipping and sliding on. Then there's the middle, which is kind of no man's land. You see Kyle Busch out there off the right front. He's going all the way to the wall. I think that's the key, Jeff. If you're going to run the top, commit like Kyle is here. Get all the way up top.
Interesting.
But it takes courage to do that. And when I say that, if Kyle Busch wrecks tonight, trying that, no big deal. But if you're Cole Custer, if you're Brendan Poole, if you're one of these guys, you can't afford to wreck this early in this race.
Well, how about how busy right there Brendan Poole was? That DC Solar helmet cam, reaches up with his left hand, turns his fans on. These straightaways are short. There's not a lot of time to have your hands off the wheel.
Boy, it's fun to ride on with this board, this helmet cam, isn't it, guys? You see how much he's bouncing around inside the race car. Now, Brennan made a couple of guys not very happy at Mid-Ohio last week. Elliott Sadler and Blake Cook. He told me before the race, hey, I called both of them. I still think both of them are pretty mad at me. Caution on the racetrack again, Rick.
Caution has come out one more time. 98 was kind of slow in Eric Almirola, and it looks as though it's a lot of damage to the right rear of that car.
That car is hit hard.
Right front's off at 2, ain't it? It's slapped pretty hard. I just can't tell. I know the right rear's killed. I can see that it's bent.
Yeah, the right front has equal damage as Ryan Reed, also with quite a bit of damage on the 16. So Eric Almirola, he was running right around 20th. 16 was 24th.
That paints the picture right there, doesn't it, guys? I mean, the last great Coliseum, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a football field or just a condensed little bull ring. I'm not sure how you fit that much stuff in the infield either. That's an impressive.
The haulers for both the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series right there in the middle. And take a look at what happened way up the racetrack. 3 wide.
Yeah, that's 3 wide. It's just not going to work. And, you know, there's no way Eric Almirola understood that they were 3 wide, and then obviously was having issues, probably had a tire down. And
there he is trying to be at the bottom, as you mentioned. He had already had the damage to the right rear. It just compounded with this.
Welcome back to Bristol in the Xfinity action. We're under yellow flag because of this. Eric Almirola, you see, makes some contact with Ross Chastain. This was the first shot, Jeff, up into the wall, heavy damage, and then trying to get out of the way, was then taken 3 wide off turn 2, and this is the accident that finished him off.
That's correct. He already had a lot of damage right here, and here comes Spencer Gallagher thinking that he's much slower and going to maybe stay on the bottom, and took Ryan Reed with him.
So on the restart, Justin Allgaier has chosen the outside line, and he's going to make it work. That's the way he was able to take the lead away from the 18 of Kyle Busch, and now he restarts on the outside, and can he hang on to the lead?
2 great restarts by Justin Allgaier. We left with the 18 car on the restart before, and he pulled away from him as Brendan Poole making on the outside.
Tyler Reddick in the 42 is working his way to the outside of Kyle Busch. That was impressive. Kyle looks like he had some grip issues with the rear of his car early on. Now both going to the top of the racetrack.
So the PJ1, or the traction compound that was put down on the bottom of the racetrack to try to help cars have another option run down at the bottom of the track. Not a lot of cars are using it. Here goes the 18, though. Kyle Busch looking at the inside, trying to take the lead back away.
Hey, and Rick, as we watch this great battle for the lead between the 18 and 7 of Justin Allgaier, using the 18 using the bottom and Justin up top. Remember, there's a transition point as Kyle Busch takes the lead there between when that bottom lane is going to stop working and the top lane comes in. And I think what we've seen in this race is it's coming in earlier than a lot of people expected. One reason it comes in is that that bottom lane, 1, loses its grippiness, and 2, the cars lay a ton of rubber on that bottom lane, and therefore you have to get away from that rubber and head to the top.
Yeah, we saw this in the last Cup practice. We saw cars running in the top of the racetrack already. This PJ1 on the bottom of the racetrack, where you see Tyler Reddick in the white car running, we expected that to last a little bit longer, but in practice it was already gone, and the top of the racetrack was already working during the Cup practice.
Kelly.
Well, the message to Justin Allgaier before the start of this race was be patient. But as we saw, he wasted no time at the start, making his way from 4th to 2nd. Then again to get the lead from Kyle Busch. His car now has tightened up a little bit. That was the last transmission from Justin Allgaier, who is continually asking a spotter to keep him abreast of where the other fast cars are running. He wants to know when they get up against the fence like they do at Darlington.
And he's moving all the way up the racetrack. Let's listen in on Allgaier.
Was about right here. He wasn't all the way up. He was just right in the black, right?
Yeah, 10-4. He wasn't quite like the old Darlington yet, but he was up there in the black.
10-4.
So the spotter's already watching to see the different lines that are coming in, and the drivers are utilizing to try to turn a little bit faster lap or maybe get an advantage over one of the other drivers. Caution once again.
Rick, it was the 16 of Ryan Reed. It looked like perhaps he had a flat tire in the middle of turns 3 and 4. It went straight up the racetrack, made heavy contact on the exit of turn 4.
And Ryan Reed involved with Eric Almirola on the last caution.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, did a piece of sheet metal perhaps rub that tire? It was a pretty hard shot. You see the movement of the right front now. Something has definitely finally completely broken loose. So you see right here on the bottom of the racetrack, just at the top of the view, running the bottom, which unfortunately, Jeff, is not a good place to be when you lose a tire in the car. Oh, straight up the hill.
We saw the speeds carrying almost 120 to 125 miles an hour into these turns.
It seems like we see that every week. A car gets into a wreck, has damage, they don't quite get the sheet metal or something fixed, and they get in a second wreck.
Well, Rick, the sun's not down yet enough to know if it's a full moon, but so far with 3 yellows early in the race, it's racing that way here at Bristol.
Well, an interesting question will be, does Kyle Busch choose the inside or the outside on the restart? Because Allgaier used the outside line to keep the lead the last time. Kyle Busch lost the lead on the inside. Throwback Weekend returns to Darlington Raceway on September 3rd. Cast your vote for your favorite throwback paint scheme at NASCAR.com/throwback. Vote daily and see who brings home this year's Best in Show trophy.
Rick, we've been showing you all these great onboard shots, but this one right here, the helmet cam we told you about, what if you see right here, right on the top, on the upper visor of Brendan Poole's helmet, that is the helmet cam. That is the shot that we're getting directly from his view. It really paints a picture. Jeff, you told me as a race car driver, that is the most accurate view you've ever seen from an in-car.
Oh, no question. It's what's so amazing about it is how much you can't see when you're here at Bristol.
Let's listen into the 18 radio.
Balance not bad up top. We'll see where it keeps going here. But just he's on my door, so of course I'm loose when he's on my door. Other than that, it's all right.
Yeah, on his door, meaning just pulling the air off the side of his race car.
And this time, Kyle Busch has decided to take the outside lane, Rick.
We'll see if it works for him. And the field once again approaching the Geico restart zone. Allgaier making the bottom of the racetrack work for him this time.
Couldn't quite pull up in front of Kyle, though. Kyle's going to use that outside to get back by him.
Has the momentum. Kyle Busch back out front.
Those are the restarts later in the race. Is that really clear off turn 2 or not? You know, is that way? Are you going to shut the door when the race is on the line?
And both are heading up the racetrack now. David Starr, driver of the 99, was checked and released from the infield care center.
And look at this mess. Look at all these cars. Look at this shot right there. That's what you were talking about. Do you slow down and let that 20 get in front of you, or do you stay in the gas? And if he comes up in front of you, you're going to get into his right rear quarter panel and wreck him. Those are decisions that will get harder later in the race.
Hear him having to stay out of the gas a little bit because of the 20 right in front of him.
We talk about this all the time, Jeff. There's a major difference between making lap time and racing. Lap time is making lap after lap after lap as fast as possible. While that's the goal in the race, it's more than that. It's putting your car in the right position around other cars.
And how about at the back of that shot, that purple 88 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's worked himself up the field. He's now up to 9th position.
That goes back to the racing, right? Not the fastest car. Hasn't been pleased with it really all weekend, but doing a nice job on these starts, gaining positions.
And as you ride around along with Elliott Sadler in the Chevrolet cam, he has had the first restart went really well for him, but the other 2 restarts after that, he was in the wrong line and worked himself back into 10th spot. There's Junior. That's a great shot. What do? Do you just ride behind somebody in the top lane, or do you try to make something happen? When you try to make something happen, you risk this happen. You risk Elliott Sadler taking that spot, and now you're on the bottom with people trying to freight train you because Elliott Sadler has the 2 car of Austin Dillon right behind him.
But here's the battle. Elliott runs the top. The 88 appears on the bottom. It's that give and take, but finally it looks like the one's going to clear him. The 88 got really loose off that corner.
Yeah, so Earnhardt Jr. trying to make a pass, trying to advance himself. It didn't clear, and he just lost 2 spots trying to advance. So that's what's so hard about Bristol. If you try too hard when the lane's at the top, you actually work yourself to the back.
Remember, Junior is in a 5th entry for his company this weekend. That stretch of resource is just a little thin this week, but they got the boss here. On the pace laps, they made sure to go over everything technically about the race car. First Xfinity Series start for Junior this year, and a long time since he's been in the company car in this series. So a lot of review, trying to move forward now.
And he's fallen back to 11th. Kyle Busch still out front. He has a 2.5 lead over Justin Allgaier. Daniel Suarez in the 20, just in front of the 42 of Tyler Reddick.
Tyler Reddick is backing up a decent qualifying effort by continuing to run up front, making smart moves. Hasn't put his car really in any bad positions yet early in the race, but really both Chip Ganassi entries are running very well. We have Tyler Reddick in 5th and Brendan Poole in 6th.
And Steve, I believe Tyler Reddick is disadvantaged by not being able to sit in this car every week. Having to get in and out of this car as a young driver, that's very hard to do. So on a very, very difficult racetrack, Tyler Reddick doing a really good job.
Tyler Reddick, 21-year-old out of Corning, California. As we see 88's running the same line as we're seeing out of Austin Dillon.
So there's Daniel Hemrick. He was on the bottom of the racetrack. They all went by him on the outside. He had to jump in front of the 3-car of Ty Dillon and take that outside line away from him. Had he not, then the 3 would have gone right by him on the outside too. You have to block. There's just no way around it. If you don't block on this racetrack, you're gonna be in trouble. Marty.
And Jeff, what a mess as they try to come back up through the field now. As you mentioned, Daniel had really been gaining ground on the bottom of the racetrack. At one point had gained 9 spots from where he started back in the 16th position, but now he's fallen back a couple of positions, and he did most of that ground gaining on the bottom of the racetrack, but he wasn't very happy with Ty Dillon. Even though they're teammates, he said, boy, he's driving me awfully rough out there right now.
Well, it's chaos for everyone on the racetrack. You think Kyle Busch, the leader, that would be the simplest place to be. And while it's the best place to be, he's already caught the back of the field, Rick. So he's lapping cars. And as you can see, they don't always give him the lane he wants. This one is going to allow him to go to the top. But as he catches these cars, he has to find his way through traffic.
Dave.
Report from the driver right now to his crew chief. Buddy, we probably don't need to change a thing. Pretty good right here. Now, he can call Eric Phillips buddy because they've known each other a long time. In fact, when Kyle won the triple back in 2010 here, his Truck Series crew chief was Eric Phillips.
Kyle Busch running well, trying to get that sweep once again of the Bristol weekend. Pocono Raceway, it's the Verizon IndyCar Series on NBCSN. 4 races remain in this season, and the battle for the title heating up. Pocono IndyCar 500, that coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Just 7-point lead Joseph Newgarden has over Helio Castroneves. As we have a great battle building here as well. Kyle Busch is out front in the last great Coliseum, as the Food City 300 is 71 laps into the 85 lap first stage. And what a move the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. made just moments ago on the one. Take a look at this pass. Well, he bumped him, got into the back of him, and again, Dale Earnhardt Jr. owns the one.
Yeah, this ended up not working out for Dale Jr. You can see the 3-car got by Dale Jr. through that exchange. It's just the closing rate. You talked about it, Steve, a few moments ago. The closing rate between the lead lap cars and the lap cars is so great here that Elliott Sadler just ran up on the lap car and he got there so quickly it bottled everybody up.
Well, and it's just speed in a tight area. You know, this isn't like running down the freeway. That was last week in Michigan. This is like going freeway speeds through surface streets, through a neighborhood. It's, you know, it's happening very quickly. There's not a lot of room. There's a lot of traffic. things come up and come up very quickly. You see the accidents. We've seen the replays. You know, an accident can happen and a car 5, 6, 8 cars back can get caught up in it.
Parker.
Right, Steve, this place is very fast, but one thing I'm noticing as you watch the 88 use that high lane, that has become the predominant lane, but the bottom lane with that grip strip is offering the drivers a bit of variety. They're able to make passes down there, and Jeff, I know you can talk about this, when that top line has come in years past, without that grip strip, there's no way you're making a pass on the bottom, but what I've been seeing is some cars being able to use that bottom, like the two of Austin Dillon there, to go below Brennan Poole and get a pass done, and then get back to the top lane.
The key is being able to get back to the top. He saw a little bit of contact. The 48 just did not want to give him that hole, and just a little bit of contact right there. Brendan Poole had a decision to make. He could have given him a shot. He decided not to.
So they both go up top.
Great shot.
See Elliott Sadler sliding up, almost getting up into the side of Brendan Poole.
Now what's Elliott going to do? Even if he gets a run, he has nowhere to go. So we talked about the lap cars. Here's a great example where Elliott Sadler has a good race car, but he's stuck right now. Going to make it 3 wide.
And they all come out on the other side. Marty.
Oh, it's dicey getting around these lap cars, isn't it, Rick? We were telling the story earlier about Brendan Poole and him having to apologize to Elliott Sadler and Blake Cook. He said, I still feel like both of them are mad at me. So, Jeff, as a driver, how do you handle that? Now you know the one's right behind you. He's not very happy with you. You know he's not going to cut you any slack this evening. That's kind of a tough thing to come into Bristol already knowing.
The best thing to do is get away from him, and that's drive away. But Elliott Sadler's not going to let that happen. So the only thing you can do if you feel like you made a mistake is maybe give him a little bit of room, cut him a little bit of slack.
Or maybe hope someone else makes him mad before he remembers it was you last week.
Well, you had a good racetrack for that to happen. This is just great racing. I mean, it's just, you see Elliott Sadler working the bottom, trying to make this pass. Elliott Sadler has a decision to make. He can drive in the corner really deep. There, the 74 car gets in his way, but you can drive in the corner really, really deep and kind of slide job the guy. Go by him, run up the racetrack, make him put on the brakes, but it's awfully early in the race to do that, but only 3 to go in this stage.
Well, in that purple car with the white 88 of Dale Jr.'s, he's kind of redefining the top. Look how high he's running.
Yeah.
He's, what, a couple feet higher than the cars in front and behind him. A couple feet doesn't sound like much, but when you're only 3 or 4 feet off the wall, it's a lot.
Yeah, very close to the wall. He's been the closest running right near the wall, as now they have just 1 lap to go. Kyle Busch out front. The top 10, Allgaier, Logano, Suarez, Reddick, Austin Dillon, Brennan Poole, Elliott Sadler, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Ty Dillon. And Kyle Busch wins stage number 1. The caution will come out at the, or when the 10, or excuse me, the 3 of Ty Dillon, who's 10th when he crossed the finish line. The caution comes out, so Kyle Busch gets stage 1. Starting on the pole, but it hasn't been dominated by Kyle Busch. We saw Justin Allgaier go up there and challenge him. Actually, Allgaier led 16 of the 85 laps.
Well, one thing that makes this track so difficult for a crew chief is it's hard to communicate with your driver under green because they're so busy, yet the racetrack changes constantly. All we've talked about is grip on the bottom, line at the top. All of that seems confusing, but the simple thing is the crew chief has to adjust his car. Remember, these cars practiced yesterday. The track has had a bunch of cup practice today. It's completely different, Jeff. So now, what adjustments does Kyle Busch make, or Justin Allgaier, to make their car continually improving throughout the race?
And the other thing, it rained during qualifying for the Xfinity Series. So qualifying was shortened to a 20-minute, 1 round. And that is where Kyle Busch won the pole. And so now Kyle Busch, winner of stage 1. And once everyone is in line, they will open pit road and allow them to come to pit road for service. Again, the fuel window upwards of 150 laps, so it's not a situation where they need fuel, but at the end of every stage they'll have that opportunity to come in, change tires, and add fuel.
So the 96 of Ben Kennedy is a free pass. As they get ready to come down pit road, this is a racetrack where we have seen a lot of pit road speed penalties. So, you know, do not make a mistake. You want to go down pit road as quickly as you can, but you have to recognize this track there's been a lot of penalties. You have to guard that just a little bit, Steve.
And a unique pit road as they roll here into turn 1. That's the end of pit road. You see right there they're passing. Now here's the start of pit road. Right here off the exit of turn 2. This is pit entrance. You could pit either on the back stretch or the front stretch. So these cars will run all the way down the back stretch and around the corner. Kelly?
Justin Allgaier led 16 laps of this race. He said that his entry is good on both ends, but he's really tight across the center, especially 1 and 2, and he's a little bit free getting off the corners, especially in 4. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment to help him out. You see 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel as well. Meanwhile, the 42 of Tyler Reddick said that his car was just getting tighter and tighter as the rubber built up on the turns. You saw right there they made a track bar adjustment. They're also making an air pressure adjustment. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, Dave.
Remember, the one place that Kyle Busch was getting beat or was vulnerable was on the restarts. He said, I need to fire off. To fire off, I need better rear control. 4 tires of fuel, Marty.
Daniel Suarez said the entry of the corner is good, but it's getting tighter and tighter in the center the further I run. They also made a note, hey, your brake rotors are very red. Make sure you're not driving it with the brakes, if you will. Joey Logano said his car way too free. He said, I just can't hustle it like I need to, like these other guys can. A wedge adjustment trying to tighten up that 22 car, Rick.
And Kyle Busch able to hang on to that top spot. As a matter of fact, all 10 were able to keep their positions. And we're checking out the stage results presented by Ford Performance. The Xfinity Series regulars are the ones that will receive points. The others, you'll notice, are dashes beside their names. So Allgaier getting quite a few points from stage 1. And let's bring in our former world champion sprinter, Otto Bolden. Otto, where are you?
Well, guys, I'm overcoming my fear of heights up here, high up top with the spotters. I have to tell you, as much as I got enamored with the speed at Daytona, I get it. I get the appeal now of Bristol, because now that they've started to race, this is very, very entertaining. Now that they're going around this small little fishbowl here.
Yeah, we figured that you'd probably you'd understand once you had 40 cars going around a half-mile bull ring.
I get it now.
And I'm sure the vibration of the horsepower and the engines, you can feel it all the way up there on the spotter stand also.
Yeah, it's not any quieter up here, I have to tell you.
And speeding penalties, 18, the 22, the 3, and the 62.
Jeff, you talked about it. This pit road is very tricky. 30 miles per hour. Think about how fast they're on the racetrack. getting down to 30 miles per hour. That's like hitting a school zone on a 50 mile per hour back road. You have to really watch your speed, get all the way down to 30.
Well, think about the track position loss. Kyle Busch running first, Joey Logano running second. The 3 car, he was running in 10th. So lots of track position loss. Kyle Busch had a penalty in the truck race on Wednesday night, was able to come from the back to win that. Let's see if he can do it tonight.
And we're going to take a look at what the spotters see on this restart. Allgaier and Suarez making up row 1. Justin Allgaier, a great restart. He takes the lead. Suarez running second. Elliott Sadler's moved up to 4th. Now Austin Dillon's going to try to take the position away from Suarez.
And Rick, I've been on the spotter stand. That was it. That's exactly what it looks like for those spotters trying to judge a few inches between these cars.
Now Allgaier trying to check out on the field. Kyle Busch restarted 19th, but he's 29th in line on that restart. With some of the cars that are a lap down, right now there are 23 cars on the lead lap here at Bristol.
I think it's going to be a little more difficult for Kyle Busch to get back to the front compared to how he did it Wednesday night, because the secret's out about the top. He was the guy, along with our colleague Parker Kligerman, that determined that you could run the top in the truck race, but everybody's already figured that out tonight. Dave.
And Jeff, we saw that view from the spotter stand. That was the one thing he wanted the crew to know after he had to go to the back here. Keep me out of the trouble. This thing doesn't stop very well. Yeah, we noticed that. The 18 goes to the front.
Let's listen into the 18 radio.
Simple. Just wondering if we should adjust on it more for having to be 50th. You're a lot better. Just got to take care of it and get there. Still a long ways to go here. We'll be fine. Yeah, this thing doesn't stop very good. You go to the brakes and it just keeps going.
Surprising, it doesn't seem like he uses the brakes much.
So here's the problem. Where are you going to go? I mean, that's so you saw him make a 3-wide move. You're going to have to be aggressive to make this passes, but with people 2 wide, 3 wide, you can see right there the 3 car. He moved the 28 to take that spot, and you're going to see these drivers have to get a little more aggressive and do that more often.
So Kyle Busch, after restarting 19th, has made his way, well, not very far, up to 17th. The problem was he had to restart back 29th in line.
I knew what you were thinking when you said he's made it up to, well, it's only 2 spots, but I think he's passed 15 cars
exactly.
already.
Brennan Poole trying to stay in the tire tracks of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
So I always think this is the most interesting decision to make. You just had a restart. When do you try the top? When do you decide, okay, now the top is better? Typically, after a restart, the bottom's going to be the place to go. Then the top will move up. But if somebody's right behind you, you're afraid to make that move, because if it doesn't work, you're going to get yourself in trouble, and they're going to line up on you and pass you.
Well, because you mentioned right behind you, and that's where the 21 of Daniel Hemrick is. He's right behind this 48. So he's hoping the 48 tries something. Get off the bottom and let me prove to you that it's too early. Fill that hole, and then once Brendan Poole's out of line, it's going to be a bunch of spots.
Still out in front with about a half a second lead is Justin Allgaier. Kelly.
Yeah, and he's trying to fend off a charging Daniel Suarez, but before stage 1 came to a close, as things got spread out, Justin was trying to find his fastest way around the track. Listen in on his radio.
Lap time for this next lap. I'm going to go to the bottom at 1 and 2, see what I can do. Touch it off in these last few. 16:04, and then you got traffic. Yeah, but what was the lap before that? Ran a 35 and then a 13.
And then during that stage break, he said he wants to perfect the lane that they need to be in at the end of this race, and he said the top lane still seems to have the most speed.
I know these are small details, Rick, but you heard how tough it was just to give the driver lap times where he could understand it. The Cup cars tomorrow night, they have that digital dash. It reads the lap times out. They don't need it to be communicated. They can read it right in front of them. These old school dashes, though, in the Xfinity cars still have regular gauges, no lap times available.
And there has to be a time when crew chief or whoever it is giving them that lap time when is the best time to get it? Is it on the backstretch when they're not in the middle of traffic?
I hated when my drivers asked for lap time because I always felt like I was bothering them, because by the time they cross the start-finish line, they're into turn 1 so quick. You don't want to talk in the middle of the corner, so now you're literally giving them a lap time, as you say, on the middle of the backstretch.
We keep talking about how difficult this racetrack is, and you have to push. Well, watch as we ride along with Joey Logano. Look at the pile up in front of him. J.J. Yaley had to really check up to keep from getting in front of the guy, into the guys in front of him, and that's how quickly trouble can happen at Bristol.
This is the battle for the lead. Suarez in the 20, Justin Allgaier in the 7. Allgaier had been running on the bottom of the track, and Suarez closed the gap all the way down to 0.2 of a second. Well, then they came up on a lap car, and Daniel Suarez lost a lot of ground that he had made up. So once again, these two are battling for position, but because of this short track and so many cars on this track, they will constantly be running into lap traffic almost every lap.
Well, with the speeding penalties of Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, that brings some new players into the top 5. You see on the right hand of your screen the 2 of Austin Dillon, the 1 of Elliott Sadler. Right behind these 2, Tyler Reddick and Dale Earnhardt Jr. has fought his way all the way up inside the top 6.
Battle for the lead continues. Suarez got to the driver's side door of Justin Allgaier, but couldn't complete the pass. They're working their way around B.J. McLeod in the 8. Marty.
Rick, one thing you'll notice on the rotors, the brakes, if you will, the 20 car for Daniel Suarez, they were very red under that first run. Chris Osborne, the veteran spotter who spots for Daniel Suarez, said, hey, let him lay off those brakes a little bit, bud. But, Jeff, sometimes you can use those brakes to help you turn here if your car is tight like Daniels was on that first run. They told him, don't do that. We need brakes for the end of the race.
Well, and the other problem with that, Marty, is that using those front brakes to help the car slow down and get it turned is that all that heat transfers through the wheel into the tire, and we've seen tires blow because they actually melt the bead of the tire. So that is not an unusual problem here at Bristol. You have to be careful not to have too much front brake heat.
This place is like it's unlike any other racetrack, Rick. Goodyear's that has to bring like almost an intermediate style tire because of the speeds and the load. Well, those tires aren't built to withstand that brake heat like Jeff mentioned. So listen, we'll say it all night, we'll say it all weekend. Bristol isn't a short track. Bristol isn't a speedway. Bristol's Bristol, and it is its own definition. This place is crazy.
So the battle for the lead on the left side of your screen, Allgaier and Suarez. If you go back to last year in Homestead, it was these 2 that were battling for the lead and ultimately the championship, because Suarez was able to outdo the 7 of Allgaier at Homestead and win the championship. He was the first foreign-born driver to win a championship in one of the top 3 series of NASCAR. Suarez out of Monterrey, Mexico. And now he's giving chase to Justin Allgaier for potentially the lead at Bristol and maybe even a win here at the famed world's fastest half mile. Battle for 4th continue on the right, but the lead, Allgaier has it, and Suarez is doing all he can to keep those rotors not too hot, as we see the 33 of Brandon Jones bringing out the caution. He has 2 left side tires that are flat. He was 10th.
He's got to be very careful here. They don't run interliners on the left side of this race car. So you see with that flat left front tire how low the car is sitting. You can see the whole wheel. So that all those sparks you see, that's not just bumper bars. That could be actually the front suspension.
And Brandon Jones just can't seem to catch a break. 65 points behind coming into this race with 5 races left. You see he just got free off of turn 4. Makes contact with the inside wall. Not huge contact though, Steve. We've seen much bigger contact when people spin off turn 4 than that. So hopefully it's not too much damage.
So the caution comes out 39 laps into the 85 lap second stage. Just a little bit of contact on the left front as they try to pick the car up to put it on the jack.
I keep watching Brandon Jones, keep thinking the charge is coming, that he's going to race himself into that playoff spot. And things like this just keep coming up and happening to Brandon.
So already the 5th caution of the evening. 45 laps still to go in stage 2, but a very short race, only 175 laps left.
See the 7 decided to stay on the racetrack. We did have a few takers to come down pit road. The 22 of Joey Logano's decided to pit. Parker.
As Brendan Gaughan had fallen back to 18th, just made an adjustment on that car. Too early to take tires right now, but struggling with that race car and telling his crew chief Shane Wilson it is tight, tight, tight. So they threw a couple adjustments out here. Hopefully they can get that thing going forward. Marty?
Parker, the opposite for Joey Logano. He said, I just cannot turn the wheel of this car. It's way too free. Greg Irwin had actually waved off pitting under this caution because they only have 2 sets of tires left that they can take for the rest of this race. So they're going to take no tires here, but make a major chassis adjustment, trying to tighten up this 22 car for Joey Logano, but they're in a position, Steve, where they just can't take tires right now.
Yeah, that's the one downside of the tire limit. It makes for great strategy calls by the crew chiefs, but when you have a rough night, Rick, it kind of puts you in a corner.
Night racing at Bristol Motor Speedway was the most coveted ticket in sports for a very long time. As we see, Kyle Busch has made his way up into the top 10 after having to restart back in 19th and at the back of the longest line, which was 29th in position. As they come back to the start line, green flag back in the air. Allgaier and Suarez. Allgaier in the 7, Suarez in the 20.
This is going to be really tight right here as they kept the lap car of the 52.
And it's going to make it 3 wide and very tight quarters. Now the 18 of Kyle Busch gets boxed up behind. And look at the run that Suarez has on Allgaier. He looks to the inside, trying to take the lead away. Marty, what's going on with the 22?
Well, we talked about the chaos, Rick, and remember they had that speeding penalty for Joey Logano and pitted just a moment ago in the back of the pack. Now he has a flat tire. We don't know if it's from contact on a restart or when the flat tire happened, but Joey knew it immediately when they went back to green. Greg Irwin has made the call here. 4 tires for Joey Logano.
Problem with pitting on the green here, Rick, you kept talking about how fast the laps are. He's going to lose at least 2 as we see the battle for the heat. The lead is heating up as the 20 gets a good run off the bottom of the racetrack.
Here comes Suarez. Can he complete the pass? Allgaier surges ahead on the outside.
Look at that run Allgaier got off turn 4.
He just looks to have a lot of confidence to lean on the right rear of his car on corner exit. To run the top, Jeff, you just have to be able to carry exit speed. It seems like the 7 can do that.
Justin Allgaier has definitely impressed even his Cup Series brethren that are out here right now, because he's been able to pass Kyle Busch. He's trying to stay in front of Daniel Suarez as Suarez got into the back of him.
Yeah, I think Suarez got into the back of him, then he lifted. You know, when he got into him, he lifted to give the 7 car of Allgaier a little bit of a break. He didn't mean to get into him right there. He certainly didn't want to spin him out, so he backed back out of the gas as Elliott Sadler making a move for second.
Suarez checked up, and now Sadler taking advantage of that. Sadler will fall back into third. Justin Allgaier and Elliott Sadler, teammates. Junior Motorsports. Junior Motorsports has 5 entries in this race, including team owner Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Is anyone surprised that Elliott Sadler has found his way into the top 3? He just seems like every race, Steve, they just get better during the race, and he grinds out the early part of the race and ultimately gets himself in position to have a good finish.
Allgaier's put a little bit of a gap between himself and Suarez now, after Suarez was right there fighting each lap for the lead. About a car length and a half, maybe 2 car lengths separating the top 2 now.
And Rick, just a quick update on Joey Logano in the 22. We mentioned we thought he would go 2 laps down. He has lost 2 laps with that green flag pit stop.
And guys, a real quick note on that tire for Joey Logano. It was a cut in the right front tire, so it was indeed going flat, but a cut. Nothing that happened on the racetrack with contact.
And once again, we see the 18 working his way up from the back to the front. He did it in the Truck Series race on Wednesday and was able to win. Now, after a speeding penalty early in this race, he's trying to battle back. Kyle Busch led 75 of the early laps. Allgaier has led 66, and continuing to add to that, Joey Logano has been out front for 1 lap as we go NASCAR nonstop. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. Daniel Suarez, the new leader at Bristol. You saw it all on NASCAR Nonstop, but it might be short-lived. The 18 of Kyle Busch has been making an incredible run.
I'm trying to find a weakness in this 18 car as we watch him work through traffic, Jeff, but he looks like he can run both lanes of the racetrack if needed. I think he's faster up top, but he can go to the bottom and complete a pass. I think that's really been the key moving up through traffic.
And Steve, one thing I've noticed, not only can he go to the top and the bottom, he can go through the middle. I saw multiple passes he made through the middle, and that 18 car is most definitely the one to beat. Very reminiscent of what he did in the truck race here Wednesday night, driving from the back to the front.
And this is for the race lead, and he's got it.
And that's the difference. So you saw how he could carry enough speed on the bottom of the racetrack through corner exit to get in front of Daniel Suarez and take the position.
P1 right there. Take care of it to the segment then, 13-4.
So he went from 29th in line, 58 green flag laps, all the way up to the lead.
And so we hear fans say, hey, Kyle Busch should be racing the Xfinity Series. It's, you know, he's a Cup driver, shouldn't be racing it. But he's not racing against bad race car drivers.
No.
I mean, you know, these are very good race car drivers. Think about this. Daniel Suarez, Elliott Sadler. I mean, you know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in the race. I mean,
Joey Logano.
It's crazy how fast he is in these cars. I mean, I know that a lot of fans don't like it, but at least you have to respect it. I mean, it's unbelievable how fast he is.
He's had some incredible success as we take a look at tonight's Toyota driver update. And out front, it's the 18 of Kyle Busch. He has 8 wins at this racetrack in the Xfinity Series. Dave.
And Rick, we mentioned earlier how familiar he is with his crew chief, Eric Phillips. Eric told me today the thing you have to remember with Kyle, he's so good here that your goal on the weekend is really not to screw up his weekend. Right now, Kyle's back to the front, Marty.
And Dave, to Jeff's point a moment ago, just think about who he just passed. Daniel Suarez in the second position. Yes, his teammate, but what team won here in the spring at Bristol? This 20 team. Eric Jones was behind the wheel that day trying to get back-to-back Bristol wins for Daniel. Right now, the car way too tight in the center, and he said it gets tighter every lap they run. So right now, he's trying to hang on to second with 8 laps to go. Now 7 in this stage.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. just a little while ago, take a look. We told you that he was running a little bit higher line. Well, he didn't want to run that high. Up into the wall. He got out of that high groove. And he's already being scored a lap down. He is 17th. There are only 16 cars on the lead lap now as there are 6 laps to go in this, the second stage. Parker.
As just a quick update on the 62 of Brendan Gaughan. He had to pit a couple laps ago because he had a light side loose wheel. Therefore had to go under the pits, get those changed, and now find himself 2 laps down. Unfortunate for the 62 team, who only came in here 45 points to the good, and now might find themselves on the bubble as we leave Bristol.
Well, another driver I want to update you on is Ryan Sieg. Ryan came in 13th position, just outside of the cut line. And Ryan Sieg now scored 11 laps down, so they have had an issue. And that's putting his possibilities of being in the playoffs definitely at risk now, as he has problems at Bristol and there's not many races left to go before the playoffs start.
Well, think about the stretch these Xfinity teams are on. They have 3 road courses and Bristol. Tight battle right there. A little tire rub there. Allgaier into the side of the 20 car. But a huge opportunity to lose a great deal of points and gain a lot of points with those 4 races all together.
18 of Kyle Busch now has a 1.5 second lead over Daniel Suarez running second. We just saw Justin Allgaier battling for that second position with the 20. Allgaier, another one of the drivers, as the win goes to Kyle Busch for stage 2, but Allgaier, another one of those drivers who's been taking advantage of every line around this racetrack. We saw him pass for the lead on the high line. We've seen him take positions away on the low line. But what
too tight. Track keeps tightening up, taking rubber.
What a performance by Kyle Busch. Caught for speeding when he came to pit road at the end of stage 1. And after restarting 29th in line, he was actually 19th overall, but 29th in line, he made his way up front and wins stage 2 in that short amount of time.
Well, so now we talked about the speeding penalties prior to the first time they came on pit road. We have 4 drivers have speeding penalties. So what do you do now? You have to back your speed up. You have to come on pit road and not make that same mistake. So they all know what section they were caught speeding in, they're going to have to slow it down.
And Kyle actually talked to them about that speeding issue before this caution came out.
Can somebody find on Twitter if anybody posted a picture of pit road speeds that time so we can see what the rest of the sections were? The first section getting on the pit road on the front stretch side, you were 34.3. Other than that, you were 33.3 to 33.5, but you were 35.03. You were the slowest of everybody that got busted. If that makes you feel any better.
Well, hopefully he'll make a correction and try to do this pit stop penalty free. Kelly?
There's Justin Allgaier. He says he's just really, really tight through the center, having a hard time getting the car to turn, so they just made a wedge adjustment, as the air pressure adjustment previously didn't help him at all. It's 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. There's Elliott Sadler. He's good on entry, doesn't want to take the rear out of the car anymore. He's been a bit tight, both ends. 4 tires, Dave.
5th place, Austin Dillon comes in. The car is a bit free, and Randall Burnett, his crew chief, is going to go all the way back to the way the car was set up at the beginning of the race. Stage winner Kyle Busch on pit road. 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel. His car has difficulty turning. He wants an adjustment for that, Marty.
Daniel Suarez on the bottom of your screen lost second at the very end of that stage. He said the 18 was able to carry way more speed than I was able to. He said I was pretty good on the short run, but too tight the further we went. And Daniel Suarez, look at that, Rick, wins the race off pit road.
Picked up 2 spots, and Suarez takes the lead away from Allgaier and Kyle Busch.
Your advantage, so.
Aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. And down there in the mix is Auto Bully.
Yeah, guys, when I was up at the spotters, I noticed all the sparks going into turn 2 from turn 1. Remind me again what's causing that, and why are we seeing so many sparks on this turn?
Well, Otto, what these crew chiefs need to do is they need to start with the air pressures very low in the tire, because as they run, heard Jeff mention the brake heat, that increases the air pressure and gets the cars up off the ground. So they need to start with them low. That gets the car close to the ground. What you see sparking is usually either skirts or perhaps even some underneath parts of the suspension.
And Otto, that yellow line that you were standing over, hopefully the security guard let you know that you're not supposed to stand that close to the fence.
Hey, I'm learning as I go, right?
Rick, the 88 got the free pass under that yellow, and the 42, Tyler Reddick, was having such a great run, caught speeding from the 8th position.
Geico restart zone. Suarez and Allgaier. Suarez on the outside. He'll shoot away from the 1 of Elliott Sadler, and Sadler's going to try to take second away from Allgaier.
Daniel Hemrick on the outside.
Allgaier fighting back on the inside of Elliott Sadler, and you mentioned Suarez. He's going to try to hold off the 18, but it didn't take very long. Kyle Busch is able to get by Daniel Hemrick.
You see more of those sparks that Otto we're talking about. What's fascinating is we don't see as many on the middle of turns 3 and 4 as we do 1 and 2. That shows you how the corners are just slightly different.
Kyle Busch tried to make the outside of 1 and 2 work. He just wasn't quite able to carry the speed. Allgaier underneath his teammate.
So this final stage, just under 130 laps, 120 to go in the race. Again, a very quick race as we see Kyle Busch still trying to move on that high line.
And we talk about the importance of spotters. This was when spotters are so important. Justin Allgaier cannot see Kyle Busch right there. He doesn't know if he's clear or not. He has to get some help from his spotter. If you wait till you see him, it's too late in that situation.
Here comes the 18. He's going to try to make the pass on Allgaier and get by Elliott Sadler. Has to check up a bit for Sadler, but that high line is working for Kyle Busch. A little bit loose there as he gets on the inside, or the inside of Justin Allgaier.
And Elliott Sadler knew that run was coming from the 18 car in 3 and 4, went to the top. Elliott thinks the bottom is better in 1 and 2 and the top in 3 and 4.
Elliott Sadler in that Chevrolet onboard looking back at the 18 of Kyle Busch, trying to hold him off.
And that's what we have. You mentioned Chevrolet right there. We basically have Toyota, Chevrolet. 2 Junior Motorsports cars, 2 Joe Gibbs Racing cars.
You see how loose Kyle Busch got in the middle of 1 and 2, allowed Allgaier to get a run and get underneath him.
Kyle Busch once again surging forward as he's got third, looking for second from Elliott Sadler, but Justin Allgaier not giving up on this battle.
Jeff, these cars are going around Bristol in 15.5 seconds. I remember the day that we got sub 16 in a Cup car, and that was an amazing day.
Great run by Elliott Sadler. Used the outside to get the launch and cleared the 20 car Suarez in the middle of 1 and 2.
Elliott Sadler now leading in Bristol. And here comes Allgaier on the inside.
Suarez has gotten loose.
A couple slow cars on the inside of the track there. They had to negotiate around. Elliott Sadler 2 wins at this racetrack, but the last one came back in 2012.
If you watch his 20 car, watch the back of it, you will start to see it move around a little bit more than the other cars. He looks very loose to me right now. That corner was really smooth and calm.
Marty.
Well, and Jeff, you can imagine the position Chris Gaughan is in, because every run Daniel Suarez has told him, said, hey, we're really good in the short run, but we get way too tight in the center. I can't turn the car the further we went. So every stop, Gaughan's been loosening this car up. So that's why you see that 20 car so free right now, but it may pay off later in the run.
Marty, that is great information, because that's normal, Steve, isn't it? To get tighter as you go. So you're going to have to deal with a loose car taking off. You're just going to have to deal with it. And, you know, that's a great move. Look, this race looks like it's got long runs in it. Get the thing freed up so it can be better at the end of a long run.
Yeah, Rick told us that this final stage is the longest. It's going to be just under 130 laps. So as you mentioned, we saw some cautions early in the race, but then now it's gotten kind of calmed down. I'm not sure it's going to run calm to the finish, but somewhere in here there's going to be maybe 60 or 70 laps of green flag racing, and Daniel's going to have to take care of those front tires. As a race car driver, Jeff, can't you do things to help the car not get so tight?
You can, but not when you're racing. I mean, you know, you're trying to race for track position right now, so, you know, the way to save your tires and to be a little bit easier on them is to slow down, not put so much pressure in them, but this race just hasn't allowed anyone to do that.
And Jeff, you mentioned taking care of those tires, but one way you do that is you see Kyle Busch try to get the inside of his teammate Daniel Suarez is by having that car so loose at the start of the run. And who's one of the best at that? That is that 18 car of Kyle Busch. He's so comfortable on having a loose car on the entry of the corners. That is what makes him so good here. And you mentioned he's racing against great race car drivers, but sometimes it's just that little bit more that you need, that little bit more comfort in allowing that car to be loose that allows it to be faster at the end of a run like he's doing here.
The other thing that's interesting, I think, that we've seen from Kyle Busch, we saw him very aggressively go through cars when he was coming up to the end of stage 2, knowing that at the end of stage 2 he was going to be able to come get tires, fuel, be fine. He knows now that he has to go potentially nonstop for 104 laps. He's saving it. It looks as though he's saving his equipment more, not trying to be aggressive early in these runs so that he can have enough equipment, have tires that are still good so that he can battle for the lead and potentially take away the top spot here. Just doesn't seem as aggressive as he was in stage 2, at the end of stage 2, to get the lead.
Hey, Rick, he told his crew just a minute ago that he was, in fact, too free to keep making forward progress. So even after what Parker said, there is a point at which it's too free for Kyle Busch.
Amazingly, a car can be too free for Kyle Busch. Oh, you get the thumbs up, Otto. You don't have to leave Bristol Motor Speedway. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion, now available on your mobile device. Select your favorite camera angle or driver with in-car video. You can even watch multiple angles at once. You can never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device. You saw it all on NASCAR Nonstop as Kyle Busch back out front. He has a 2-second lead over Daniel Suarez now. And Suarez running in that second spot. Still on the lead lap, running in 10th, is the 88s of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dave.
Rick, when Junior was 4.5 years old, his dad won in the Cup Series for the very first time. The first of his career, 76 wins. It happened right here at Bristol, so the place has always been special to Junior. Yesterday, they awarded him with a lot of adulation, but they paid something forward for him. There's a scholarship in Junior's name now. It's the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Scholarship, and it'll be given to a high school student locally who has an interest in pursuing a career in automotive technology. You should have seen the smile on Junior's face. Not only is Bristol special, but giving back to the community here as well.
You know, that's something Dale Jr. really prides himself in. He gives a lot back to his local community in Mooresville. He also, in my opinion, gives a lot back to NASCAR. There's a lot of drivers in the sport because of the opportunity he's provided for them. You can only think of the guy who has won the most races this year, and that's his teammate who drives for him right behind him, the 9 of William Byron. I mean, this young man had jumped on the scene last year, won some races, got the opportunity to drive for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and that has instantly moved him up. He'll be in the Cup Series full-time next year, Jeff.
Yeah, such a short time.
And 78 into the wall. coming off of turn number 2. That brings the caution out for the 7th time. Tommy Joe Martin's in the 78.
Looks like left front.
And that's going to put Joey Logano in the
broke.
lead lap.
Come down pit road. Come down pit road right here. Something's broke on the left front.
The 22 took the wave around at the end of stage 2.
That put him just 1 lap down, and then he was able to battle to get. Yeah.
Wow. See right there, it looks like maybe a lower control arm, something. Yeah,
definitely broke.
So hard into the wall for the 78.
See that left front right there, just.
So now really it's decision time. I think all of these cars on the lead lap have 1 set of tires left with 83 laps to go. There's only 40 laps on these tires, but it's now the time you take your last set, Rick. I mean, if you are anybody other than Kyle Busch, I think you have to think about the opposite strategy of Kyle Busch. I haven't seen a car here that can outrun Kyle Busch on an 80-lap run. Now, some have been able to do it on a restart. Justin Allgaier got in front of him, Suarez, but this is the whole advantage. Do what the leader doesn't. So if the 18 hits pit road, I'm probably staying on the racetrack, hoping I get a caution later in the race. If the 18 stays on the racetrack, though, I'm coming now, taking my tires now, and hope the race falls kind of my direction.
The hard thing about any strategy against Kyle Busch is there are currently only 16 cars on the lead lap. And so when lead lap cars all get to start up front, that means that he only has to get by 16 cars if everybody else stays out.
I know, Rick, but don't let all your facts get in the way of my gambling strategy that might give me a chance to beat the 18.
Well, here's your chance because Kyle Busch is coming on pit road. So
I'm staying out if he pits. I'm going to do the opposite. There's no reason to be on the same strategy.
And yet everybody else wants to be on the same strategy. Kelly.
Justin Allgaier once again telling Jason Burdett, his crew chief, that the changes, the adjustments they made last stop are really not giving him any help. He said he needs help on throttle off the turn. It got really tight through the middle, as it has been. This should be a 4-tire stop for Justin Allgaier. The one of Elliott Sadler said, look, the car's pretty good. It's a little tight here, a little loose there. I could use some help across the center, but I just can't run with the 18. He, too, is going to have a 4-tire stop, Dave.
The debate for Kyle Busch was a little bit on timing. Was it too early to come? Kyle said, I don't think so. We could get a string of yellows here. Just a little loose on exit, Marty.
And Dave, for these cars, it's going to be a long run here to the end with 81 laps left. We'll see what it is when they finally go green. Daniel Suarez said, as we saw, a lot freer that run. Meanwhile, Daniel Hemrick in the 6th position said, hey, whatever you did last time hurt the center this time, so they're going to make some changes, air pressure and wedge for that 21 car.
Race off pit road. Kyle Busch, Suarez holding on to their positions. Allgaier grabbing a spot. The big question, why would everyone do the same thing that Kyle Busch did? getting ready for the restart. Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez once again making up row one. Kyle Busch, race leader, has chosen the outside line. Daniel Suarez will be on the inside. When they get the green flag, it'll be 77 laps to go in the race. Daniel Hemrick with a great restart is able to clear the 20 of Suarez. We'll see if he can hang on. He does hang on to that spot.
How about Daniel Hemrick? Ran second last week on the road course. Then comes to Bristol and running second.
And now side by side for that second spot. Hemrick falls back, but Ty Dillon surges ahead, and so Ty Dillon now up to second.
And Cole Custer sneaking into the picture. It's a talented young driver.
Suarez also moving up, as is the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Parker.
Guys, you see that 0-0 of Cole Custer fighting back from the night. He started in 5th place, fell back through the middle portion of this race, but has steadily improved on that race car, just loosening up and making it better in the long run. But what a shout out to him in this top 10 run after the week they had last week at Mid-Ohio. He crashed the primary car in qualifying. They got the backup out, and then they had a transmission failure in the first couple of laps. It was a disaster for them. They came in here hoping to turn things around. They're doing here tonight. Great run for Cole Custer.
And right behind him also, Parker, is Justin Allgaier. He restarted 3rd right here. It just wasn't in the right line. He's got himself all the way back to 8th. Remember, he was battling for the lead not long ago. Was led a bunch of laps. He has to remain calm. Still 72 laps to go. Don't let the frustration overtake and ruin your night.
Let's listen in to Allgaier.
No track bar? Did not touch the track bar. But I'm afraid that, I don't think we need it up any higher if, with the rotor grip issues. Yeah, I'm just worried about turning, Yeah, I'm with you. But everything we try to make it turn seems to make it worse.
And basically what they're saying is they're having a discussion. What do they need to do for adjustments? They would need the car to turn better. So you would raise the track bar to make it turn. But that was Jason Burdett saying, listen, I hear you, but every adjustment I'm making that should help the car turn the corner just makes us slower. We're losing grip. So at some point in the race, Jeff, you have to say, you know what? Let's put it back where we were the best and hopefully the car will come that way. The problem is it your car or is the track just going the wrong direction for you?
And remember, this isn't a cup race. The team raises that track bar. The drivers can't move it in the Xfinity series. So once you raise that track bar up, there's no getting it down unless you're going to pit again. And unless something bad happens, none of these cars are going to pit again.
Marty.
Hey, fellas, you've heard of the playoff beard, correct? Right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Brennan Poole, though, has the pre-playoff mustache going right now. I asked him about it. I said, how long have you been growing that? He said, 5 weeks. And guess what? He has 4 top 10s in the last 5 weeks. And you can't see it from visor cam right now, but he said, you know what? As long as I keep finishing in the top 10, this thing ain't coming off. I'm not going to shave it. You see a battle a little further up front with Daniel Suarez and Ty Dillon. But he said, I'm going to keep this thing going. And guess what? If he finishes where he is right now, it'll be 5 top 10s in the last 6 races. Brendan Poole right now in the 5th spot, right?
Well, Marty, when I was driving, why didn't you tell me that?
I don't know, yeah.
I'm
not sure the mustache on you would have been a good look, Burton. I'm just saying. Okay?
I wouldn't have cared.
Trying to help you out as a friend.
As a friend.
Why did you look at me like that when I said that, Rick?
Because I looked at you thinking I didn't know you could grow a mustache. 48 in the 1. We go back to Mid-Ohio and take a look at this. Brennan Poole trying to push his way in, got into the left rear quarter panel, or excuse me, right rear quarter panel of the 1 of Elliott Sadler, and around he goes. And under caution, Elliott Sadler realizes, I'm going to move up here and just let you know that my frustrations are real.
And as racing goes, they probably had to ride around together in the pace truck, waving to the fans, and here they are racing side by side.
Nose to tail here at Bristol. Let's check back in with Otto.
Yeah, guys, so I've been all around the stadium, up high, down low. As this race is going on, I have not stopped moving. My question for you guys is, okay, so Kyle Busch with under 65 laps to go looks like he's pretty much got this thing sewn up. If you're one of the drivers behind him, how do you possibly communicate when Nobody down here can hear anything. How do you communicate in this sort of an environment with so much noise?
Well, Otto, the helmets are designed to try to keep the noise inside the mic in the helmet, but it doesn't always work. It's very difficult to communicate, but perhaps more importantly is, what are you communicating? Are you trying to make your car as fast as the 18 car? Because the 18 car has been way faster. Or are you making adjustments trying to beat the guys that you're racing with that you think you can have the same speed with?
Yeah, easy for you to say up there. I'm down here with my producer, and we have to text each other, and we're standing next to each other. That's how loud it is.
It is very hard to even hear you actually while we're talking. 140 decibels plus. And I mentioned 140 decibels is what they're hearing here. Well, that's the same as on the deck of an aircraft carrier. It's the same type of level of noise and sound.
Watch this. Harrison Rhodes on the bottom of the racetrack in the 51 car. Jeremy Clements trying to go outside. The Rhodes had a problem, and that was almost a caution. Great job by Rhodes to maintain control. Obviously had a problem getting up the racetrack. He's on pit road now.
We just showed you, sorry Rick, but we just showed you the frustration from last week. Well, I think Elliott Sadler, the frustration is boiling right here. He's been stuck behind the 48. I like Brendan Poole's move right there. You know what? This is a point I'm not going to give or not going to fight over as we ride on board with this helmet cam. We ride on board for a whole lap. Watch how fast the lap is here as he chases the one around. So you're coming by the start-finish line here. This is turns 1 and 2. The back stretch, and you see how much that one is moving around. They move around a lot in the corner.
And that's a lap.
Yeah, 15 and a half seconds. Doesn't take long, Rick.
So interesting question for you, Rick. Which side's turn 1?
Right. I mean, that's yeah, while you're riding along, you can lose track so quickly.
This racetrack is so similar from turn 1 to turn 3 that when you run this many laps, it's easy to forget where you are at turn 1 or turn 3. So we talk about these two drivers having a go last week. Well, look at Elliott Sadler's hand out the window. That right there is, okay, I know you cut me some slack. We're all good now, all right? What happened last week's done. You cut me some slack. You helped me out. I appreciate it. It's over. We're moving on.
48 laps to go. Out front, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Ty Dillon, Hemrick, and Sadler to the top 5 as we go NASCAR nonstop. tomorrow night on NBC. The battle for the playoffs continues under the lights with NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Bristol. That coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern with Countdown to Green. We saw the 62 of Brendan Gaughan have issues under that last NASCAR nonstop. Parker, what's going on?
Guys, well, a night that's gone from bad to worse. The 62, he had to pit again, as you mentioned, under green. And it looked like it was just a left rear clearance issue. The left rear was going down. He pitted, they changed the left side, and he's back out. Just a bad night in the 62 here.
Seem right on the playoff bubble. Again, the top 12 will advance into the playoffs right now. Brendan Gaughan, 12th.
J.J. Yaley right now in the 14 car. You can see he's right behind Brendan Gaughan in points. And right now he's running his 16th, last car on the lead lap.
7 of Justin Allgaier has made his way back up to the 6th spot. Kyle Busch has a 1.5 second lead over Suarez. Then it's Ty Dillon, Daniel Hemrick, and Elliott Sadler, the top 5. Dave.
And you saw on the points there on the left, Rick, that the 5-car of Michael Annett doing what he needs to. He displaced the 62 at the cutoff line and has now improved his points position. Coming into tonight, disaster can be a problem at Bristol. He's had to maintain, but also has a fast race car and has gained throughout the night. Hey, by the way, too, guys, on the 18 of Kyle Busch, about 10 laps ago, he radioed in and used these words: "I am picking up a vibration." Nothing since, but the crew leapt to attention just in case.
That can't be a good feeling when you have a little over a second lead in the closing laps of a race. To have that vibration come in, we'll just have to keep an eye on it, see if he reports if it gets worse.
Yeah, and Otto mentioned a little bit ago about, it looks like Kyle Busch has this race in the bag, but they're never over.
Right.
You just never know what's going to happen. Clearly, he has the fastest car tonight, but the fastest car doesn't always win these races.
He's been the class of the field, no question about that. As we see the 1 and 21 still fighting for positions. Elliott Sadler has taken 4th away from Daniel Hemrick. So Sadler, who has 2 Xfinity Series wins here and a Cup win, driving for the Wood brothers, he currently runs in the 4th position. Ty Dillon is just in front of him, as well as Daniel Suarez, all chasing Kyle Busch.
Well, Rick, Jeff mentioned this on the previous yellow that Joey Logano had taken or had received the free pass and got back in the lead lap. Some great pit work, great strategy. They stay out, they get the wave around at the end of stage 2. They catch a yellow, they get the free pass. Remember, this car was on pit road, lost 2 laps on pit road in the middle of the race, currently in the 10th position back on the lead lap.
And I think that grind, getting a good finish after having that trouble can help Joey Logano. We know the situation there in the Cup Series. He's got to get a win if he's going to get in the playoffs. Is he going to take tonight and say, hey, look, it's just not our year?
Right.
Or is he going to take tonight and say, hey, I made something out of what could have been nothing? Which way is Joey Logano going to look at this? Knowing Joey Logano, I think you look at the positives, but Joey Logano's got to make some magic tomorrow night.
Another car goes a lap down in Blake Cook. 13 cars on the lead lap. As you mentioned, Logano, he's currently running 10th, but he's 11 seconds behind Kyle Busch. What a run Kyle Busch is currently having. Kelly.
And a solid evening for J.J. Yaley as well. And what a week for him. Not only is he running triple duty, which means potentially 1,000 racing laps around this track, but it's been a heck of a week driving from North Carolina to Orlando and back. First to take his family to Disney World, then he was here for the truck race. Then he made the effort to drive back to Charlotte once again to ensure that he got to see his daughter Faith off to her first day of 7th grade. He said it was a 23-hour day, but obviously well worth it for him to be there to see her off to school. Running pretty well here tonight, has one more 500 laps to go tomorrow night.
And 2 years ago, Faith did the introduction for Dad. He dressed like Elvis, and she won the hearts of everyone here at Bristol. Introducing her father to the crowd here at Bristol.
Listen, I love my daughter, but if it took an Elvis outfit and an Elvis wig, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure I could commit to the Elvis outfit. But J.J. Yaley, listen, when every time you run into him, you catch it to have a conversation, nice guy. sprint car driver from back in the day. Just so much success on open wheel racing, still grinding it out here at the Xfinity level.
Yeah, running every race. You know, the truck race, the Xfinity race, the Cup race.
That's one of the things that we touched on earlier. The 18 of Kyle Busch trying to complete the sweep. He won on Wednesday in the Camping World Truck Series. He's 17 laps away from a win here in the Xfinity Series, and then he'll try to win in the Cup Series tomorrow night. Parker.
Guys, let's also point out the 3-car of Ty Dillon running in third right now. Has steadily worked on that race car throughout the night and got himself into the top 5. If he gets very loose there, we've got a caution, guys. 62 in the wall.
Brendan Gaughan had come to pit road a few times, had some issues with that car, and now has got into the wall. The 8th caution of the night has come out, and this will be a sprint to the finish. It'll take a little while to clean the track up with only 16 laps to go. Is there anything that anybody can do, only 11 cars on the lead lap, to try to challenge Kyle Busch?
Well, I think now it comes down to what they have left for tires. I don't think any of the leaders have new tires left, but maybe they'll have some low lap scuffs from practice or cooler tires from earlier in the race. With only 11 cars in the lead lap, as you reported, Rick, I think you have to come to pit road and try to do something, but we saw Brendan Gaughan spinning down the front stretch. This is how he got here. You see 3 wide right here. Jeb Burton was kind of in the middle, looked like he got loose, corrected, and basically just caught the 62 in the left rear. Then the 62's left rear tire goes down. Brendan goes up into the wall. I mean, listen, these drivers have done a great job all night of somehow making 3 wide work, but it doesn't work the majority of the time. And right there, Jeb Burton, it just turns right. So I don't think he means to go up and catch the 62, taking himself out. So he either had a handling issue or, by looking at the fire under the right front corner, perhaps another issue, but without a doubt there was contact.
It looked like there were sparks coming out from underneath the car as he was shooting up to the right there and caught Brendan Gaughan. Brendan Gaughan obviously not very happy. We saw the Ward Burton Foundation on the hood of Jeb's car. A lot has been said of Ward Burton recently. He was very vocal when he was driving here at Bristol.
Oh, you saw the car.
Yeah.
So right there, before it turns right, you see the front end move a little bit, like something either mechanically broke or more than likely perhaps just had a flat right front tire. Unfortunately for the 62 of Brendan Gaughan. Talk about wrong place, wrong time. He happened to be on the outside. The good thing for Jeb Burton is it was going to be a hard hit in the outside wall that probably was saved by the 62's contact.
And there are the flames rolling out from the right front tire.
You heard the spotter say, hey, find a fire truck and get out. Fire trucks are located on the infield around this racetrack. You can just see one and find it and just drive up close to it.
At the beginning of every race, NASCAR will come over the radio to all of the spotters, and they will say, spotters, locate the fire trucks around this racetrack. And so the spotters then can let their drivers know, okay, there's a fire truck in turn 1 or there's a fire truck in turn 3. NASCAR always wants to make sure that the spotters and everyone knows where all of the safety equipment is around the racetrack for a situation like this.
Well, I mean, obviously it's a fire that they're having a tough time putting out, so it's either maybe brake fluid that's caught on fire or oil. We're getting ready to find out.
And the flames continue to roll.
That's right.
Jeb's had a tough year. He wants so badly to make it in this sport, puts a lot of effort in it, cares a great deal about it, and just didn't work out tonight.
So under 12 laps to go now, as this restart will be the most important. Kyle Busch has been dominant. He's led over 174 laps. Justin Allgaier led 75. The free pass is going to go to the 5 of Michael Annett. Very important as he continues to fight for position in the bubble drivers as far as trying to get into the playoffs. Marty.
Rick, a little intrigue here. A couple cars coming down pit road. And remember, Joey Logano had that right front tire that went down with a cut earlier in the race. Well, they got that set back out. They had 15 laps less than everybody else has set here. So nothing to lose for the 22. Steve, you've been wanting someone to take a gamble all evening long. Finally, they're going to put on these 4 tires and see if Joey Logano can come from 10th to the front, Dave.
For Dale Earnhardt Jr., a little different situation, just no grip in that race car. They put 30-lap scuffed tires on it now. The crew telling me we just need to get the boss to the end. Marty?
And they're going to put on these 4 tires and make an adjustment for Joey Logano, as he told Greg Irwin on the radio. What do we have to lose? Let's see what can happen here. So this is going to be interesting. A couple cars on the lead lap will pit here, see if they can make it into a win at Bristol.
Well, you have to remember, Rick, while it looks like there's about 10 laps to go, we still have the opportunity for NASCAR overtime. I mean, this race could run longer than 10 laps, and you just have to understand the situation. There's not a lot of cars in the lead lap, so at some point you have to try to get your car back on the offensive, right? You can't be out there kind of just hanging on. You need to find a way to give your driver the ability to be aggressive.
Let's listen in to Daniel Suarez's radio just moments ago.
Really proud of you that whole run, man. He was whipping it. We're close. Let's get us a good restart here. See if we can make it happen. Sorry, boss. Make it happen.
So the pep talks with under 10 laps to go.
Well, we've seen Kyle Busch get great restarts, but remember, if he does not clear the 20 into turn 1, we've seen pushing and shoving at Bristol before.
Oh, yes, we have. They definitely will push and shove, especially with under 10 laps to go. There'll be 9 to go when the green flag goes in the air.
Joey Logano in that 22 car on the bottom of the racetrack with tires. They've waved the restart off here. I think they don't think the lineup's correct. Saw a lot of cars shuffling around trying to get in the right spot. So I think NASCAR said, hey, we got to get this lineup correct. They waved it off.
If you remember back June 16th at Michigan, Daniel Suarez passed Kyle Busch with 2 laps to go in Michigan for his first win. Again, a reminder, tomorrow night on NBC, the battle for the playoffs continues under the lights. NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series racing from here in Bristol. Coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern with countdown to green.
This is just a precursor tonight of what we're going to see tomorrow night. I expect the same sort of chaos, great competition. We've seen multiple lines, cars on the wall, all the way to the apron.
And so much on the line with people trying to get in the playoffs.
And what will Elliott Sadler do? He starts on the outside of row 2, back into the Geico restart zone. 8 laps to go. Green flag back in the air. Kyle Busch easily cleared the 20 of Suarez. Elliott Sadler trying to hang on to 3rd.
See Joey Logano at the back of the screen. The cars in front of him all went to the top. That's what he needs. He needs to make these new tires work on the bottom and then try to get a caution. Get a few spots and hope you get a caution.
Suarez trying to reel in that 18 of Kyle Busch, and that's unfortunate. The 9 of William Byron. Tire goes down, but he's able to get down to the apron and get out of the way, so the caution does not come out. Under 6 to go as they come out of 4. 5 laps remain. Justin Allgaier fighting to get back up toward the front. Allgaier running 5th. Trying to take 4th away from Ty Dillon. Dillon all the way up against the wall.
Wow, see how loose Justin Allgaier was?
Kyle Busch has made it known when he gets to 100 wins in the Xfinity Series, he's going to retire. He's got 90. This could be 91 tonight.
Justin Allgaier tried to slide job the 3 of Ty Dillon. Ty having nothing to do with it, crossed him over, took that spot back.
And now 2 to go. Side by side battling, continuing for position. Again, every point matters as the playoffs are looming. The battle continues for position. Under a lap to go. The 18 of Kyle Busch. He's been dominant. This is the 186th lap that he will lead, the most important. Kyle Busch is going to win at Bristol again.
Good job, guys. Shattering the tires right there at the end.
It didn't matter. The car might have felt uncomfortable to him, but it was better than anybody else on the track all night long. He had a speeding penalty early on. He was able to bounce back from that. Very reminiscent of what he was able to do in the Truck Series race on Wednesday. Also had a speeding penalty that he recovered from and got the win. Now he's 2 for 2. Camping World Truck Series win on Wednesday. Xfinity Series race win on Friday. He's the only driver to ever do the sweep in the top 3 series of NASCAR. He did it at this racetrack back in 2010. And he's going to try to do it again. The smoke will clear and we will see the bow to the crowd. Wins in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And Dave Burns has caught up with it.
With Kyle now, KB, how would you describe that domination coming back through the field?
Great car. All the guys at Joe Gibbs Racing did a phenomenal job and gave me a great NOS Energy drink, Camry. And I want to thank the fans, of course, the Rowdy Nation that's here, that's supporting this show, supporting this sweep so far. So hopefully we can close it out tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of them on your side tonight. What do you want to say to them?
I just appreciate all the fans, but more importantly, those that wear the 18, we appreciate you, of course, the most. It's always fun to have a better house here at Bristol, and there's nothing better than the night race at Bristol, so it's cool to win here.
2 out of 3. See you in victory lane. Kyle Busch wins for the 2nd time this week at Bristol.
And we're seeing the fireworks just outside of the last great Coliseum. Didn't see as many fireworks inside the Coliseum tonight. Not a lot of bumping and banging. Rowdy dominated. And next Sunday, the Xfinity Series will have the schedule all to itself when they visit Elkhart Lake. That's in Wisconsin to race at Road America. Coverage begins at 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC. What a beautiful view. Kyle mentioned it. Racing under the lights at Bristol. It doesn't get any better. And now making his way, which he's very familiar with, into the unique victory lane. He's actually going on top of the building that is located just off of turn 3. Takes a little bit of negotiating to get there, but once you do, the celebration with the team will begin. And Kyle Busch has made his way up there again. I mentioned earlier the number of times he has won at this track in the Xfinity Series. This one makes number 9 for Kyle Busch. Let's go to Kelly.
And Rick, it's quite a scene here in Victory Lane. A large crowd on hand to welcome Rowdy here for, as you said, the 9th time in the Xfinity Series. And he just keeps adding to his totals here. The spray of the NOS Energy drink. He made a comeback in the Truck Series. He made a comeback in the Xfinity Series. Win number 91, Kyle, and you had said that you would stop racing this series full-time once you reached 100. Does it kind of feel like the countdown is on?
I know for all the fans it is, so this is just cool to race with these guys. You know, I love this team, and I love Joe and all of Joe Gibbs Racing, Coy, JD. We're always praying for JD, but it's nice to come out here and race in this series. I want to thank Xfinity especially for that, but this NOS Energy Drink Cam here was awesome today, and awesome off the truck yesterday. Eric and the guys did a really good job, and the Joe Gibbs Racing engines were really strong there. Can't say enough about Toyota, TRD, the fans, DVX Sunglasses, Cessna, all my partners as well. It just makes this program special, makes this program go around, and I want to thank Rowdy Nation as well too. I know that there's a lot of fighters out there for us, so we appreciate them.
All right, he's going for the sweep of the triple, 1 and 2 in the books. Congratulations, Kyle.
So let's take a look at the playoff standings for the Xfinity Series. Again, only 3 regulars have been to victory lane to claim playoff spots. 12 will make it in. Brendan Gaughan, 43 points above the cutoff line, and it was a bad night for Brendan Gaughan. But luckily, other drivers struggled, like Ryan Sieg and J.J. Yaley.
Yeah, and you heard Dave report Mike Lindett. They're in the 11th position of points. Did a nice job all night long. Ran 12th this evening on the lead lap. That's what he needs to do to protect that 50-point lead above the cushion.
Elliott Sadler very comfortable in 4th. Brennan Poole, Daniel Hemrick. Again, all in good position points-wise. Dave.
3rd tonight for Elliott Sadler. Elliott, how would you describe the getting there?
Man, we had a great car. So proud of everybody on this One Main Financial team. We had a lot of people here tonight for One Main supporting us. Got a good car. I hit the wall with 50 to go, and then I threw my water bottle out, and I got in the middle of the jack man's way and messed us up, but we're peaking at the right time. Junior Motorsports, everybody there is really working hard and giving us good race cars, and we've run really good here last month and great here tonight. So we overcame some obstacles tonight, top 5 finish, and gaining some momentum. It's really proud of my race team.
So a hand out the window to the 48 looked like a friendly hand. Have you guys worked everything out now?
Well, we race each other hard, and I bumped him a little bit. He bumped me, but he did give me a break, so I waved to him, thank you, which is kind of how I grew up racing people how you want to be raced. So, ended up a great night. We had a lot of people here from Armour Foods tonight, and also Dale's PLL, and a bunch of people from One Main. I know Bob's watching at home. Thank you guys for his support, and we're getting ready for the playoffs. We're getting better each week.
Strong run for Elliott tonight.
Well, it winds up being 5th for Justin Allgaier. Boy, the first half of the race looked like you had the car to beat. What happened in the second half of the race?
Well, unfortunately, I think the 18 had the car to beat, but, you know, everybody on our brand Professional Agriculture Chevy did a great job all weekend long, and our Camaro was fast. You know, we had speed. That last run, I don't know if it was just a combination of tires and an adjustment or what happened, but our car really didn't fire off like it had, and I felt like that was our biggest strength up into that point. So, hate it for the guys that we finished 5th, but still a great day. And finding speed before these playoffs is going to be a big deal. So I hope everybody home enjoyed watching on the Xfinity X1 service, and we'll go on to next week on another road course and maybe a little redemption from last week.
I know the 18 was the car to beat. That was obvious, but how gratifying on those couple of restarts, and even in the middle of runs, you were able to get by him and pass him clean.
Yes, like I said, you know, our car fired off really well, and I felt like that was our strength. So to be able to drive by the 18 at whatever juncture in the race it is always a good time, and you know that you have to have speed to be able to do that. He's been on it, and you know he's one step away from going for the triple. So you know, it's definitely good to be behind him and learn from him, and obviously hope that you can beat him, but you never know what's going to happen.
Justin Tobey coming into the weekend. All we need to do is finish off a race. They do that here this evening, finishing 5th.
Another top 5 for Justin Allgaier. And we were mentioning that line right below 12th and the drivers that are fighting to be in the playoffs. Right now, Brendan Gaughan, even though he didn't have the night he was hoping for, he's still above that cutoff line. And as a matter of fact, moments ago, when Brendan Gaughan came out of the infield care center, Parker Kligerman caught up with him.
Brendan Gaughan gets involved in a wreck, unfortunately, with 24 of Jeff Burton. Brendan, it was not your night. Just take me through it from the loose wheel to end up getting in the wreck there. Nothing was going your way.
I mean, we had a decent South Point Chevy. We were going to sit there in the top 14, top 12 for most of the first part, and we had the loose wheel, which it's just racing, man. That happens. But, you know, 2 weeks in a row, I know he doesn't have many races, and I like him a lot normally, but right now I'm going to knock the hell out of him. The first time he gave me a flat. The second time he says he blew a tire. But, you know, if you know you got a tire going, then don't drive underneath somebody. I'm really last couple weeks been driven with no respect, and you know, we put ourselves back in a decent spot, and we'll go to Road America. We're going to win that sucker.
As you look ahead, look a place you've won at Road America, that gives you a good feeling, but that can be a place that has a lot of context as well. Is it a good place there? Maybe just to take out some of that frustration?
No, it's just Road America, man. I'm going to go fast, we're going to win it, and we're going to stay in front of everybody and not have to lay a fender on nothing.
Brendan Gaughan hoping to go out there and win Road America, guys.
Yeah, Brendan Gaughan has been good on road courses, and obviously frustration there. Brendan Gaughan, he got taken out, and he feels like he was done wrong.
Well, and he has every right to be frustrated. I don't know if it's fair to say Jeb knew he had a tire going down, but that doesn't change the fact that Brendan was an innocent bystander that got drove in the left rear tire that spun him out. Whether the car to your inside has a flat or not, I don't think can adjust your frustration. I think he'll go back, look at the video. I would encourage Jeb to perhaps reach out and have some conversation before you get to the road course, because right here it looks like Jeb's turning down the hill like the car's handling fine. It does take a hard right-hand turn, but what I think we heard right there was a Brendan Gaughan that has a couple weeks of frustration building. This isn't from one singular incident. He even mentioned that perhaps earlier gave him a flat. So this is what happens. Jeff, you and I talk about this a lot. It seems that's how racing works. If there's someone you're frustrated with, you line up right next to him and end up racing him most of the night.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in the first incident, but in the second incident, clearly Jeb was turning good enough. He didn't know he had a tire down, and all of a sudden you saw the car drop, and then it turned into Brendan. So I think after Brendan watches the second incident, I don't think he'll be upset, knowing that really Jeb had no way of knowing he was going to have a tire go down.
But Rick, that's the pressure of the playoffs. Frustration.
That's right.
And Brendan knows that he's on the cut line, and the race at Richmond is coming to determine who's going to be in the playoffs.
Let's hear the other side of the story. Jeb Burton is standing by with Parker Kligerman.
That's right, Rick. Brendan Gaughan very upset with the number 24 of Jeb Burton. Jeb, he mentioned that you'd gotten together before that last contact when you blew the right front. What happened in that first one, and then what happened when you had the tire go down?
Yeah, I think that's what Brendan's mad at. I didn't mean to get into him. I just got tight. I ran him down from a straightaway, and you know, me and Brendan raced really hard together, but you know, I'm doing all I can. This is my last race. I didn't mean to get into him. That's the last thing I want to do, but you know, he never lets anybody go. So I mean, I don't know. He's mad I got into him on accident, center off. I got tight. He came down. It was a Bristol deal, and then the second time I just blew right front. So just got to thank Estes, State Water Heaters, Rocky Ridge, all my partners. It's been a tough season, but we had a good run at Daytona, and hate it for my guys. They work hard, but hopefully we'll be back soon.
You mentioned this is your last race of the season in this car. Will you reach out to Brendan and try to smooth things out?
I talked to him a little bit in the media center. You know, like I said, me and Brendan raced hard together. I didn't mean to get into him. He knows I didn't mean to get into him. If his tire wouldn't have went down, he'd never said a word about it. It's just one of those things. My fender brakes got and hit his left rear, and you know, it happened. So I didn't mean to.
Guys, tempers flaring at Bristol. Not the first time we've seen that.
Oh, that's not even tempers flaring.
No.
That's like a preview for tomorrow night. I mean, hear what Jeb's saying. Listen, he's out here trying to build a career. He has one more ride in this car. You know, he said that Brendan doesn't let anybody go. Well, I can respect that. Brendan doesn't have to let anybody go. But what he just said, that's it. It's Bristol. We're going to say it. We said it tonight. We'll say it tomorrow night. I think that the frustration's accurate on both sides. Brendan has the points that he's concerned about. Jeb has his career that he's concerned about, trying to get some more rides in the Xfinity Series.
And a good family scene taking place there in Victory Lane. Let's go back to Marty.
Well, second for Daniel Suarez. I know you wanted to catch your teammate Kyle Busch there. Were you thinking when you got that caution that was your shot?
I believe so, yeah. Man, first of all, I want to say that I'm very proud of this team. I don't get to race the 22 very often, but I have done it twice this year, and we finished third and second now. So very proud of this group. Feels good, you know, to try new people and to try new ideas and stuff. And Chris and the entire group, the 20 group, they have very, very, very strong race cars, and it was a lot of fun racing right there with 18. Maybe a little bit too tight right there on XL4, but I use my tires a lot to try to catch him, so that's part of racing.
I know when you were battling earlier, he went right past you. You said, man, I can't carry speed like that.
You know, I can do it in that point. I wasn't able to do anything in that point, but the guys made some adjustments, and in the last run, I had something for him, but in the last run, right there at the end, I just feel like I used my tires a little bit too much, and he was saving a little bit more than me. I guess that's a little bit of experience, right? But we get there.
Experience wins tonight at Bristol. Daniel Suarez second.
Ty Dillon gets his best finish in the Xfinity Series this season of 4th place. What do you need to maybe compete with those JGR cars up front?
I just think I didn't need that caution at the end. We were all starting to group back up for that late caution, but proud of all my guys, and it's a great run with our Bass Pro Shops NRA Chevy. We needed this. We haven't really had a real solid year as a group, and we're working really hard. So this is a place that I feel really confident at, and it's nice to get a good run and maybe start swinging into momentum, get some good finishes like we deserve.
What'd you learn for tomorrow night? Anything that can help you in that Cup car?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing is just the trend of the track and where that grip's going to go on the bottom, when you can use it, what corners you can use it in. 1 and 2 seems to be a little less dominant than 3 and 4. So 3 and 4 is good on the top, 1 and 2 is good on the bottom, and then it slowly started shifting there at the end. So learned a lot and had some fun.
Good run for Ty Dillon in 4th place.
Parker Brennan Poole winds up finishing 6th, and I tell you, you guys originally there took tires on that last stop. Were you thinking, hey, I can come up here with a little fresher tires than everybody else?
Yeah, I was trying to look behind me to see if they were going to come behind me, so just kind of took a gamble at it to see if we could get a couple more spots. But our car was pretty good all night. We just kind of fought a tight race car, and I thought we were adjusting on it, getting a little bit better, but we just we couldn't quite get there tonight. But solid 6th place finish. We seem to keep getting momentum each week and headed in the right direction for the playoffs. So I'm excited.
I think the most important thing about this interview, I bragged about your pre-playoff stash earlier, which is this another top 10. So it's not coming off for sure now, right?
It's not coming off. I'm going to keep it going. But I'm just excited about the next few weeks and excited to get into these playoffs. And thanks to Xfinity and all the stuff they do for our sport. It's been a lot of fun, and just excited to get this thing going. I can't wait to get to the playoffs and battle it out with everybody.
The mustache here to stay for Brennan Poole. Dave, William Byron, though, tough night for him.
Flat tire ruined William Byron's day there at the end. Describe the racing and the contact that led to that, William.
We didn't have any contact, actually. We just had a flat spot. But I don't know. We just missed it. But I'm not really sure. We struggled over the bumps really bad. But our team worked really hard and had some good pit stops and was able to run top 10 or so. But we'll definitely work on it and figure out what we need to do.
Do you have some takeaways from tonight that are positive at all?
I think just being aggressive. I think we gained a couple spots on restarts. Then we kind of would fade. But I think just being aggressive and knowing where to go and how to race guys. But overall, we'll definitely get better from here and be able to go to Road America and have a good run. Thank you.
All right. It's the Friday night edition of NASCAR racing at Bristol Motor Speedway. Jeff, what stood out to you tonight?
I think the change in lines. I think the fact that the racetrack started a certain way, then it went another. You heard Ty Dillon talking about at one point 1 and 2 was better on the bottom, then it kind of started to change, and I think we're going to see that tomorrow night. I think that they're most likely going to put more of the material on the bottom before tomorrow night's race, and how is that going to change it? So I just think the ever-changing track conditions I find very interesting and difficult for the teams to figure out.
Steve?
Well, Kyle Busch. 2 legs of the triple complete, won the truck race, won the Xfinity race, but both issues had to come from the back of the pack. That will not be easy tomorrow night. I know it's possible, but the field will be much larger, way more faster cars. It's going to be way more difficult to overcome a problem. So I think he needs to try to avoid those speeding penalties, and more than anything, just the cars inside the top 5, top 6 all night long kind of came and went. Some cars good on new tires, some good on old tires, and as that line moved around, Jeff, certain cars found speed.
And really relative calm. I mean, great racing side by side, but not a lot of wrecks, not a lot of contact. We saw a little bit, but as Bristol standards go, not a lot. So many times a calm night prior to a wild night happened.
And now we switch our attention to Saturday night racing and the Cup Series. It's Bristol, baby.
Tennessee comes calling. I can feel it in my bones.
Good evening, race fans. This is Bristol! Tennessee. Oh, you really got the best of me.
What a beautiful view, and it will be very similar tomorrow. NBCSN has the pre-race, NASCAR America starting at 5:30. Then on NBC at 7 o'clock, Monster Energy Series Countdown to Green, 7:30. Just after it will be the drop of the green flag for Monster Energy Series racing, and then the post-race will be over on NBCSN. So both of you said it was relatively calm. I wouldn't use the word calm, but it was not a lot of bumping and banging, not a lot of accidents that we saw from guys, being aggressive. Are we going to see maybe a little bit more aggressive with only 3 races to go until the playoffs and guys needing wins to be able to advance into those playoffs?
Well, I don't think it's a maybe. I think it's a must. I think these drivers that are on the bubble, I look at Joey Logano in a must win. Matt Kenseth has the points he needs, but you cannot protect points here playing defense. You have to play offense. You have to be aggressive. You don't want to be the guy getting pushed out of the way. You want to be doing the pushing. And I know that sounds bad, but there are 2 types of drivers at the end of every Bristol race, those that are apologizing and those that are getting apologized to, and I can assure you, you want to be doing the apologizing.
Well, you're right. I mean, that is the problem with Bristol, is that if you want to have success here, if you want to be the guy that's won the race, that's had a good night, and many times that becomes at the expense of someone else, and it's just how it is. So we never know what's going to happen. Sometimes we think these races are going to be crazy and they're calm, and sometimes vice versa. But one thing we do know is there is a ton on the line.
Right.
We have many drivers that have to win, drivers we expected to be in the playoffs. Who would have thought Joey Logano would be in the point situation he's in? He's now in a must-win situation. And then we have Matt Kenseth, McMurray, Boyer. We have a group of people that are afraid to make mistakes because of where they are in the points. So there's a lot on the line tomorrow night.
There are 7 drivers in the top 12 that need a win, that haven't won yet for this season. We'll be right back.